So let's call this meeting to order. And first of all, let's give a warm welcome to our newest trustee, Lucinda Oates. Thank you for coming. So we very much appreciate that you are expressing interest in the trustees and that you solicited enough support to get the write-in votes that we needed. So, do you want to talk a little bit about like your interest in the library? We'll go around and do introductions here in a moment, or do you want us to do introductions first?
I'm an avid reader, major. So I'm a big supporter of our library, but mostly I'm Kindle now, so.
That's still the library.
I know. Yeah, and I do an awful lot of interlibrary loans.
Yes, you do.
I know. I do them in patches of 5 to 7 at a time. Yeah, so my husband and I both do that. So we're big readers, major readers, always been. And I would have been on the board many years ago, but there was always a full board. And I didn't want to go after anyone's seat because everyone enjoys being on it. And so when it came available, all these openings, I said, I think I'll do library. So I asked some people and put my name down, and they did. And they even spelled my name right, so that helped.
Great.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
As we said, I'm Connie Strickmatter. I am a librarian at Fitchburg State University.
Oh, nice.
So I just also have a natural inclination to libraries.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been on this board this is my 6th year.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also filled a vacancy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a vacancy, and I did a 1-year appointment and then continued on from there.
Yeah.
I'm Krista Gogan. I just got reelected along with you. So I have served 1 term, and I'm a retired librarian. I was a community college librarian for a long time, public librarian, so I also volunteer at the library.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm excited to be on the trustees as well.
I'm Tom Robinson. Lived in town a long time. Not a librarian, but I do have a bookcase at home. It's pretty orderly. And I just really enjoy the public service and this specific public service interest in this.
Tom, how long have you been on? I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I started a long time ago.
Okay.
And left and then came back.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I would bet that over the years it's been 20.
Okay. Nice.
Really?
It goes by pretty quick. I can't believe you just said 6.
I know. Time flies, right?
But Tom is also our major building point person, which is so super important.
Bob?
I'm Bob Cronin. I've been on the board now for, I think, about 2 years, not quite 2 years. I'm a retired college professor of English, and I'm enjoying this particular job very much. And I do read a lot, too. I have a bookcase.
Well, you know me. I'm Chris. I'm the library director, and I was at the library for about 16 years so far. And obviously, I love books. I have more than 1 bookcase. In fact, my husband pretty much has conceded defeat. I've got piles of books all over the place. So, but I'm here to just tell you what's going on at the library. So,
I'm Morgan Brinker. I'm avid reader-ish when I can.
and just so you know, I don't vote. I just tell you guys stuff because you guys hire me or fire me.
Yeah, so she's here as like in an ad hoc position,
Yes.
due to being library director. And she does a great job as library director, so we are super psyched to have her.
Thank you.
So, yeah, good. I guess maybe just a little bit about like what the trustees do. So we're interesting in that we kind of operate outside of the select board, and that we don't the select board doesn't oversee us necessarily, and so we kind of are responsible for kind of providing guidance and policy for library operations. We're responsible for the maintenance of the building, which is a historical building, and kind of fundraising or taking care of business around. That falls outside of the library directors. We're more like a guidance. We're more like sounding boards, I think, for Chris. So. and do policies.
Mhm.
We are going to be doing strategic planning this upcoming year. So we had a strategic plan that we formed in 2019, 2018, I sent it to you. And so this year, we need to do another round of strategic planning, so we have a new plan in place by July 1st of 2024, which is important because it helps us apply for grants through the MBLC, which is the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners.
Mhm.
And so it kind of keeps us in good standing with them as well. And then Chris reports data to the state, to the MBLC every year, kind of an update on what we've progressed through the year, and then statistics as well. So strategic planning is probably going to be one of our bigger things we're going to be working on this upcoming year.
We should probably mention some other people because they really contribute a lot. And I'm speaking of the race people, Mel and Mark.
Wigler. Yeah.
They do a tremendous job, and others have in the past as well, and others work with them right now, I think. But they kind of make that happen and just do a tremendous job.
Mm.
That's our largest single fundraising effort.
I have all the shirts. Multiple.
Yeah, so it probably brings in about like $2,000 to $3,000
Yeah.
a year that goes into our donations account.
Mm-hmm.
We also get state funding, which I've never understood how that happens, but maybe Chris could explain that to us.
Well, there are two things that you can do. To be certified by the state is a voluntary effort, but in response to that, you get one, reciprocity with the interlibrary loans, and two, you get state funding based on how big you are, how many patrons you've had, how many items you lent out to a whole bunch of different people. And in fact, the ARIS report, which I wrote down and I didn't keep the page, automated reference information survey. And that tells us that's me telling the state, how many items do we have for books based on everybody? What was the salary for everybody? And then it's a voluntary thing. I ship it off to them, and then I do a financial report to the state telling them how much did the town give us in municipal funding, which is also a part of the criteria for being certified. And that I will start probably the end of August, beginning of September, and that's due in October. But the sooner you get it into them, the happier they are.
Mm.
So what ends up happening is we get incremental increases every year. I believe that this past year we got about just over $4,900 in two separate payments of $4,900 for the library to have access to use for the library. They don't really put many, there are some limitations on it, but not a lot. But if I was just to go out and buy a cry cut or a big TV specifically for the patrons to use to watch movie streaming, if we ever did that, which we don't, that is something that we could use that state funding for. So that's why it's nice to have, because we've been growing that amount as of, look at it, because the state account now has $41,000.16 in it. So if a huge, like if the boiler blows up and we can't get money from the town, we could utilize, I think we could utilize it.
So you could use it for the facility then, right?
I think so. I got to double check with Mary Rose Quinn, because I remember going to a meeting and I wrote it all down, and it's on my desk at the library.
But you mostly use it for books?
I could use it for books. I could use it for, there are read aloud books that we can offer for the kids, as opposed to having an MP3 player. They open up the book and the book reads it to them.
Mm.
Apparently that's popular, so.
We used a little bit of the money this past year for the library website. We
Yep.
switched platforms.
We upgraded platforms, so the platform where I'm currently moving all of the information from the old website to the new website, but it's still the same company. but it's more, it can go from a PC screen or a tablet screen to a phone screen and automatically adjust. And it also has, it's more ADA compliant in that if someone has a visual impairment and they have a reader attached to their computer, they can read the information better on this new website that we're going to have as opposed to the old one. And it's going to look cool.
That's important.
Yep.
Do you have any questions for us before we kind
Nope.
of launch into?
Nope.
All right.
I'll follow along.
All right. So, Chris, director's report. You're up.
All right. Director's report, July 1st, 2023. We had 0 curbside pickups in June. We had 342 patrons and 147 students. That will drop because school is over. Our Storytime attendees, we had 57 adults and 100 children for a total of 157. We had 8 Storytime events in June. We have 2 volunteers with a total of 5 visits and a total of 16 and a half hours for the month. We issued 5 new cards. For our Facebook and Instagram totals, our Facebook page reach in June was 2,921. Facebook total page likes for June was 823. Our page followers in June was 908. Facebook page, yes I do, sorry. Facebook page and profile visits, which is formerly check into our location, was 447 in June. Instagram page reach is 35. Instagram followers is now 111. And we dropped down to Instagram profile visits to just 1 visit this month. For our most popular posts on Facebook, number 1 was Storytime continues throughout the summer with 1,203. And our second most popular was the ongoing book sale in the foyer with 1,124. We had 105 Wi-Fi connections in June. For circulation, library numbers, Hubbardston items circulated regardless of location. In June, that was 1,148. All items circulated at Hubbardston regardless of ownership in June was 1,143. We had 214 requested holds for the month, and the total number of patrons registered at Hubbardston was 1,458. Total number of items in June was 12,092. Total overdrive checkouts for Hubbardston patrons FY 2022 is still 4,892. That should be upgraded by next month. I should have the new number. Overdrive monthly checkouts for June was 557. The library was closed Monday, June 19th for the Juneteenth holiday, and on Tuesday, June 27th, due to the water being shut off at the school for maintenance. The Senior Book Club met on June 28th and discussed 1,000 White Women by Jim Fergus. There were 6 in attendance. July's selection is Where Are the Children by Mary Higgins Clark. The club will meet on Wednesday, July 28th at 11 a.m. at the Senior Center. The display for June was LBGTQIA+ Pride Month in both the adult and children's reading room. July's display will focus on camping, hiking, and getting outside. Our summer reading program begins July 1st with Book Bingo. We have a variety of prizes for those who complete a row, and if they choose to fill in all the blocks, they will be entered into a drawing for a $25 gift certificate or gift card from Barnes & Noble. The Bee program with Be Kind Farms will be held Monday, July 17th at 6 p.m. No registration is necessary. Respectfully submitted by Christine Barbera. The numbers are still as of the end of May. I don't expect to see the end of June.
You mean the account numbers?
No, the personnel support, which I did email to you when it was updated a few weeks ago. So, and that is it.
Great, thank you. And so at the end of each report, I don't know if you can see on my screen, we have our funds for the library.
Mm-hmm.
So the top part are like town funds, so employee support, services, supplies. State account is what Chris was referring to earlier, money like the $9,900 we got from the state. We have a donation account, which is like the Road Ready store when people make donations to the library. Dog fund is money we get every year for dog licenses, then there's a state law that that money goes to libraries, is my understanding.
Nice.
Yep.
And then we also have a couple of trust funds as well. So that exist, that we can use that money. Some of them have restrictions on them and some don't have restrictions. So this kind of gives you an overview of the money. And then we also have funds for like CIPC grants or CPC grants that we've received over the years, money for like building improvements that we're kind of working to expend. So you'll see this report every month and you'll see kind of how it's progressed. So.
Would you like my copy?
I read it online.
Okay.
Were you?
Well, I was just anticipating the next thing about the statistics, and I was asking if Morgan could talk about it.
Yes.
But so I just want to make sure. Were you able to see all the Google Docs?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I
Yeah.
set them up so that anybody could view them with the
Okay.
link. They couldn't edit them, but they can
Right.
view.
Okay.
Right.
So you
It
could just
was-
click
it was
on the link
embedded
and
in the
great,
agenda.
great.
Yeah.
And then right underneath the library director's report is a spreadsheet of library statistics that Krista and Morgan have been working on. Is taking a lot of the data that Chris had in her library report and just putting it into a spreadsheet so it's easier to kind of do tallies and to kind of gather that data. But go ahead. So, Linda.
So I think, unless we've done it before, last year we provided information at the road race of how use of the library. So taking all the numbers and entering it on a monthly basis, we can then pull statistics. We can do charts based off of that. So that's one of the ways in which we're organizing and then being able to pull the information. So looking at growth trends and changes.
Yeah, I saw that chart.
Yeah.
So can I just ask? I usually have been putting all of the director's report, just like pasting it into the minutes. Is that still helpful, or?
I think that's helpful.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now that you guys have the charts, do you still want the full year's worth of numbers for like the page reach, total page likes, things like that?
That could be edited and at your
If
preference
it's-
because I think it's.
I just don't want.
how
I don't
people
want to
it.
overwhelm you guys, and after a while, it looks like it's overwhelming, and you may just be used to it now. So
I think
up
it's
to you
helpful
guys.
as long as the data gets put into the spreadsheet,
Okay.
like in a timely enough manner where we don't lose a month, right? And have to go back and find the director's report and,
Okay.
so.
I'm happy to take that monkey on of data entry.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep. That'd be awesome. Thank
So
you.
maybe just like 6 months or something. I don't know, because I think when it's like, how do you do it? Do you just drop off the?
I drop off the last month.
Okay, so maybe
and add
that's
the
fine.
next
So it's
one.
like a year, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Okay.
Chris, you mentioned that our funding is in some way related to books borrowed and these statistics.
They've got a formula that they use to determine what it is, and there's actually a spreadsheet on the MBLC website that you can see how it's broken down as to what we get, but it doesn't go into the formulas that they use to determine that.
I'm wondering if by promoting the use, we can actually increase our funding.
I would have to check with MBLC on that one. I don't know. I'm not. It's possible.
Is it annual?
It is an annual thing.
So I'm not sure if you saw the social media posts with regards to one of the posts the library made was about popular books and books
Yes.
coming out.
Yes.
And there was a lot of chatter on that.
Yes, there was.
And then I've heard chatter off of social media of people talking, but then there's another one, and I'm just showing you. This is Wood's library
Okay.
webpage, and at the bottom they have like information similar to what we're collecting
Okay.
of at a glance, and they update the information at
Okay.
your discretion,
We could certainly add that to the.
and then not to overwhelm you, but when you have things of interest and or I think the library is doing a great job of making that monthly selection in the children's room and adult room, if we have a feature on that, or if there's information that you want to share for that engagement of community engagement. I just thought that's another way that we can possibly gain interest and possibly help. I don't know if it will affect the state aid, but, and I don't know that that's the net goal, but just community engagement.
So wait, I'm sorry, are you showing Facebook?
No,
you're
it was
asking-
it was at the bottom of Woods Memorial webpage. So if I go to their webpage and then scroll to the very bottom, it has just our library at a glance, 2022 quick stats.
I see.
And it's very similar of like how many books were taken out, usage,
Yeah.
number of patrons. So they have total items
monthly?
borrowed. What?
Monthly, perhaps?
This is a year at a glance.
Where is this library?
Barry.
Barry.
And then interlibrary loan.
Much bigger building than we have, much bigger library, Barry.
It is bigger.
I mean, it's comparable to that infographic we had
Yeah.
at the road race.
Exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
on a web-based platform.
Well, once these charts are made, they could just be put onto the website.
Yeah. And then there's a number of different ways in which you can I don't want to say modify the data, but depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking at a year for a glance, if you're looking for the last 6 months, if you're looking for the top 3 months, it's very easy once you have the data to just pull what you're looking for and to be able to share.
And that is not social media. That is official library website. Good.
And Chris was showing with the new website of, I could be wrong, but she seems very adept at being able to go in and modify and update and customize it the way that it reflects the town and her needs as a librarian. So,
My concern is the whole social media thing, not everyone's on it.
True.
And the web, everyone can be on it if they elect.
if they have
to click in,
access.
If you have internet access, but that's true for both cases. I'm kind of against using what I'll call private communications to do public business. So, you know, there's towns that have listservs and things where they boom a thing out to a list of people, but that list of people is a private list. It's not the public list. So I'd like to make sure we're always doing things in the public way. Sorry about my voice.
It's all right. I think that in this day and age, you have to kind of utilize as many different means.
I'm not against using them. I'm against using them exclusively and not using the public one thoroughly.
I agree, and I think with our new webpage, we'll have greater access. I'm speaking in the royal sense of our library director. She will have greater access at being able to control the information
Yeah.
listed on our website.
It's not a complaint, it's an observation.
The money we get from the state is determined by the population of the town or the number of books taken out.
I'm not sure. I know that there are numbers. They ask for 2 different reports. One is the ARIS report, which talks about the items that we have.
Yeah.
And then the second report is the financials, which is what have we used the municipally funded monies that we've got from the state for? How much did we use for salary? How much did we use for supplies? How much did we use for utilities? Things like that. And then they come back after that and they approve or question the reports. And if everything lines up like all our ducks are in a row, they'll approve it and then they'll say, okay, you're going to get X amount of dollars this year. But, you know, someone like Cambridge is going to get a lot more money because they're bigger.
Well, yeah. What is the formula in terms of population? Is there a formula? So
If there is a
money?
formula, I don't know it. I believe there is a formula, and I believe that MBLC has it, but I don't know what the particulars are of it.
Like Fitchburg must get more money than Hubbardston, I'm sure, because it's a larger town, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. But it wouldn't have much to do with how many books are taken out, I would think.
It might not be with how many books are taken out. It might be part of your collection. But like I said, I don't have all the details. I just give them all of that information that they ask for, and then they come back and they say, okay, you're certified here. You'll get a check in December.
Does it state that it's an award or state?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
That's all right, because I'm just on the state page and it says that municipalities, once they're certified to receive state aid, there are 3 awards that can be dispersed: the Library Incentive Grant, Municipal Equalization Grant, and Non-Resident Circulation Offset. And I would assume that they have their own calculation, but it's not stating here, other than what you've already stated as far as requirements, it's not stating our formula for disbursement is XYZ.
So I'm looking at how to calculate the municipal appropriation requirement. And that is used prior 3 years municipal appropriations for operating expenses, or the MAR figure, whichever is higher. The average of the 3 years figures is increased by 2.5% for the current fiscal year.
Yeah, it would be adjusted.
So it's going to be adjusted, but it's looking at, I think, town funding, and I thought someplace else I had read that it does look at like size of town.
Where did you go to get that?
I went to the MBLC website.
So
And
maybe
it's
at
mblc.state.ma.us.
So maybe at a future meeting, if we could be in the other room, we could just all look at it together, because it would be good to know about that. Because like you said, if it would increase,
How to
if
influence?
increasing something might help us increase funding, that could be good.
Maybe
Just
that's
say-
the formula. The MAR.
Oh, no. Okay. So there's the MAR and then there's the TAMI, all right? And this is what I have to figure out before the budget, when I submit my budget to the town. And basically what it is, like Connie said, is I take the last 3-year amounts that I receive from the town, add them up, divide it by 3, multiply it by
2.5.
Yeah, it's like 60. I have the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and then whatever that amount, I add $10 just in case, and then I submit. This is what my budget has to be in order to be to reach state certification. That's one of the steps I have to fill in, and that's how I.
So that's how what the state, that's what the Hubbardson has to give us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the Hubbardson funding, is the MAR. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
And there are 2 terms that are really important. There's the municipal appropriation, the MAR, which wow, my brain is going mush. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Municipal
Long day.
appropriations requirement, and then there's TAMI, which is total amount municipal income. And you have to take the TAMI over the MAR. So if we calculate, and hypothetically speaking, say I ask for 85,000 and the town only says, okay, you can have 84,000. The state says, no, you were supposed to have 85,000. If you're only getting 84,000, then you're not going to be in compliance with that amount. So you can ask for a waiver, but then the town has to get involved and explain why they did that. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but Dudley is now going to be closing their library because their town is in financial straits and they zeroed out their budget. So.
So rather than,
Echoes.
did you hear? I heard of the closure. Rather than reducing hours and the steps that we took, their choice is to close. Do you know in that instance if residents are able to go to a neighboring town? Because I have residents asking us.
Okay, so it depends. As of right now, if any of the surrounding towns of Dudley have a policy that they are not going to support a non-certified town, then no, they will not offer that if they have a policy. If they don't have a policy, it's possible that their library trustees could decide, you know what, we're funding our library and they're not funding theirs, so no, we are not going to do that, and then make a policy like that. Or they could say, you know, I feel really bad for the people in the town of Dudley. We'll do what we can. There is no hard and fast rule. The state's not going to slap your wrist if you lend to them. But, you know, the whole idea of reciprocity is that we're all working together to support all of our libraries. So I'm not sure how it's going to happen around Dudley.
Yeah.
Did
I was
that
going to
happen
ask
here a
that
few
at
years
the
ago, about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in the interest of time, because there's 9 more agenda items.
Oh, sorry.
Can we move forward
Yeah.
to the next item?
But we could put this on a future
Yes,
meeting,
absolutely,
yeah.
yes. So it's just
Right.
7:35 and there's
Good.
9 more items to go through, so. Can I get,
I'll make a motion to approve the June minutes.
okay.
Second?
You can't second, you weren't at the last meeting,
Oh, that's right.
so you have to abstain.
Nice try.
Sorry.
Nice try.
Well, somebody can do it then.
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Abstain.
Abstentions? Well, 2 abstentions.
Okay.
Only because Linda
Right.
wasn't at the meeting, so she can't.
Do we need to make a nomination on the next motion?
We do, yeah, so.
So
like-
starting that, may I make a motion?
Yes,
Sorry.
you may make a.
Sorry, if I should continue that statement. So I'd like to make a motion that we nominate, or I make a motion to nominate Connie as chair for the library for the following 2023 through 2024.
I'll second.
You're okay with doing this twice in a row?
I will do it twice in a row.
2 times down the
2 times
torture
down.
First year's the hardest
Two
one.
down, 2 times down the pike, yeah.
Are there any other nominations?
Would anybody else like to be chair?
Having heard
Okay.
none, may I make a motion that we move to elect Connie as chair?
All in favor? All opposed? I don't know if I can vote, but,
I don't know if the motion was seconded.
oh, motion
But I'll
is
second.
second.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
And you do a great job, really.
Yes. Okay. Give you a round of applause for last year.
We'll up your pay.
Yeah.
Do we need to do anything about secretary, or is that just?
I'll make a motion that Krista be nominated
I'll
as
second that.
secretary.
All in
Okay.
favor? Great. You can
Congratulations,
vote on this.
Krista.
You can vote on these, so.
Thank
And
you.
I'd just like to
Unless
say
somebody
you
else
also
wants
do a
to
great job.
do this.
I'll support you with data entry in any way you want.
All right, so I will continue to chair. Krista will continue to be our awesome note taker secretary. And we will sally forth and keep things moving. All right, I have this library budget and accounts. I just kept it here in case of Chris, if you had new bills that came in that we needed to allocate funding for.
The
So-
only one we had was Verizon, and I think that there's enough in there to cover that. So.
Okay, you feel like okay.
Yep.
So, there's going to be, I think we need to have a larger discussion in general about how we use the donation account and the state fund account. But given the length of this agenda, I'd like to have that discussion where we can really give it some due diligence. So we don't have to make any decisions about moving money around. I think this topic is kind of covered.
I'm sorry, did you just say donation account and state funds?
Yes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that came up a couple months ago
Right,
about how that money
right.
should be used, and so
Okay.
I want us to have a good, healthy discussion about it. I just don't think that tonight's agenda is the place to do it, so.
Would it be possible at that time to go over also the trusts
Trusts,
and
yes.
which ones are like for beautification, just so
Yep.
that we're all on the same
Yeah,
page?
so we have that spreadsheet that we put together
Mm-hmm.
last year that we can kind of use that as a review, so. Our standing agenda item, town awarded funds for repairs. First floor rehab, I think, is kind of on hold right now, but we're looking at foundation repairs. And I think Morgan, you,
I think both
Krista had
Krista
maybe
and
reached
I
out.
both had. And following the last June meeting, I had reached out and I had been told, and now I need to pull up the email, by one that it's likely that it's going to open a can of worms and that we need to be prepared, especially with brick foundations. In that it
What do you
can,
mean the work will open a can of worms?
he said, especially in almost any brick foundation, that it's a can of worms. So what is our need, knowing our timeline, our budget? And he's happy to give an estimate, and then beyond sending him the photos, I hadn't heard back. And
Have
I
anybody
have
contacted
rechecked.
Who
you?
is he? I forget the name.
Let me
of
go back.
There was Bella Masonry and Raymond James.
Raymond James.
it. Raymond James. Yeah.
Did either of them contact you, Chris?
Nope.
And right now, we have $13,000 in the foundation repairs account. We have $5,000 from 2020 town warrant, town meeting, and $8,000 from 2019. So there's $13,000 to be looking at foundation repairs.
So I'm happy to put more pressure, and I'm happy to have other people likewise reach out to them and anybody else to at least get in and provide us with a.
Can we put the contact
Cool.
information in the notes or something?
Yes.
Yep.
And then,
We need them to come, we need them to come. If they're available to work, then we need them to come and look, right? But
I would
I
be
agree with
glad
you.
you
to
never replied.
point at the bricks and do whatever.
And that's where I had sounded hopeful, because I did get follow-up, but this was back from like June 6th or so, the very first week of June, and I provided your name, Tom's name, my own name, Chris's. I gave the library's phone number. I gave emails out. I gave the trustees' email out, as far as many contact methods as possible.
We also have a report from an engineer on that corner. And I can't find mine.
It's we probably have it in the spreadsheet
Link?
that I put together, where I linked like all the funds we got, and then the
Okay, good.
CIPC grant. So we should have that in the drive.
Yeah, I'd like that
Okay.
to surface too. We ought to give it to him, because I think it removes some of the mystery, some of the uncertainty.
Yep, I will make a note to.
Could you also send me a copy? Or tell me how to find it.
So this is,
looked
we've
in it.
already identified an engineer.
Well, Tom
No.
had an engineer come out
Oh.
to do like an assessment,
Okay.
but they don't do the actual repair. Is that correct? I'm assuming, Tom, that's correct.
That's correct. He's a
Okay.
structural engineering company.
Okay.
I think it was in Auburn.
All right. Any other information about foundations?
No, but I'll try to put because I sent an email, and I guess you probably did too. Or did you call them?
I had made calls, and it goes
Okay.
back to the beginning of June, and then I had sent an email
Okay.
with the follow-up, because one of them had asked for photos, and I actually think I took the
Okay.
report that Tom had and took the photos from that
Okay.
report
So-
and sent it.
So we could put all that in the drive with like a link to a folder with all that stuff, because I'm confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hiring a building facilities consultant. I'm happy to say I have a phone call scheduled on Tuesday with Wendy Frontiero, who's an architect and a preservation consultant, about potentially working with us to develop a facilities plan. She didn't want to come and meet in person initially. She wanted to have just an initial consult, just to make sure it's, kind of in her ballpark of what she wants to do. So when I talk to her on Tuesday, I'm going to lay out, like, this is money that we have, these are projects that we have money funded for already. We have a host of other projects that we need to have funded, like the boiler. And going back to the long-range plan that we had, there was 4 or 5 things on there. They escape my memory at the moment.
Windows.
Windows is in first floor rehab. And then we want to have her help us develop a kind of prioritization plan, so we know the order in which things ought to be done. And then ideally, if she could maybe also provide some recommendations for companies that might be able to help execute those projects.
Perfect.
Does that sound
That's a good agenda.
I
Okay,
very much
just-
appreciate that.
okay?
Yeah.
Can we just add something about, like, this is money we already have, but like future, like, planning for how to change the boiler over to something more
Yeah,
efficient?
that's what I was
Okay.
talking about, the future long-range plan
Okay.
stuff that's,
Okay.
that we don't have funding for, but there's 4 or 5
Okay.
projects that was in the long-range plan
I see.
that we don't have funding for yet, but is
Okay.
on a horizon of things we need to think about.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Is anybody in town in charge of all the facilities, all the buildings, and all the?
No.
There's no facilities manager in town.
The nearest we have to it is the manager of the DPW.
So,
That's the nearest definition, but he's not going to come up and inspect the roof
okay.
or do a roof.
It's a dumb question, but I should know the answer
No, don't
anyway.
question,
But
no.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's one of the things where we're kind of as trustees, we kind of have responsibility for the building. And while we receive funding, I mean, the town has been very generous in giving us funding to execute different projects throughout, like the roof and, some of the CIPC grants we've received. We don't have somebody who oversees all of it, which is why we're trying to hire a consultant to help us kind of get our ducks in a row so we can execute without like replacing windows, and then the next project we realize, oh, we have to remove all the sashing from the windows or whatever, and then redo stuff. So we're trying to find ways to be responsible stewards of the
what
money.
do other towns do of a similar size? I mean, is that typical how small towns function? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how it functions, but I know like there isn't anybody here, so we kind of have to kind of come up with our
Okay.
own way of trying to get it done.
The only other thing this person might be interested in, and I'm not sure we can explain it, is how do we get future funds? That process. And I think having a person like her or him doing the planning creates a good credibility when you go and ask for something. It really creates the information necessary to prove that you know what you're doing. So funding should be easier, but she ought to know the process that this town
Yeah.
uses.
Yeah. And so, Tom, can you clarify for me, if it's under $5,000, we don't have to go out for bid, right?
Well, actually, if it's under $10,000,
Oh, $10,000,
according
okay.
to state law,
Okay.
you don't have to go out for bid. But you do have to use what's called good engineering or good business practice, and we can't be sloppy about it. It's not a free-for-all. It's a reviewable process, and I'm sure Nate will help us. And
What I was wondering is, do I have to get multiple people
for her,
to do a consulting? Because I have been
Trying.
unsuccessful. I mean, I'm going to talk to her.
You've made I think if you make a good faith effort, you're okay. You can if you can reach out to like 5 people and one person answers you, you can explain. I reached out to all of these people. It's
Yeah.
not a.
I've reached out to
It's
5. I have reached out to 5, and
yeah, keep a record of who you reached out
Yeah.
to and how much we're trying to spend.
we have $6,000 that we got from CPC.
And I think we're fine.
CIPC. Sorry.
We're fine.
Okay.
But you do want to do good business practice.
Sure. And she's been an architect for 27 years. Works with a firm. Was listed on the MassachusettsPreservation.com website. So I mean, I'll talk to her and get a feel for what I feel like she can do, and then if I think she's going to be a good fit for us, and then if we get her to visit, then I'll have a broader meeting where anybody can attend, and we can talk to her in more detail.
What's her last name?
It is Wendy Frontiero, so Frontiero.
Okay, thanks.
Good work. That was a
Yeah.
long search.
Well, I'm hopeful that she's going to be great.
Yeah.
So, but I have to say, the Massive Preservation Directory was pretty helpful. Like, I only picked like 2 from that because I don't want to send out like 20 emails and have to keep track of everybody. So, and she responded immediately.
Huh?
So, like, and I sent it out. I mean, I sent it out yesterday. So she contacted me last night, and we exchanged emails today to get the phone call set up. So she
Great.
seems
Good.
interested enough to have a conversation. And I think she's out of Gloucester, so it's a little bit of a drive for her, which is probably why she wanted to have a conversation first
Yeah.
before just driving out here and being like, this isn't what I do, you know?
Yeah.
So
We could go there. There's a nice beach.
I cannot wait to get to Wintersheet, so this year. So,
Have you been to Good Harbor?
I've not been to Good Harbor. Is it good too?
Look it up.
Okay. So that is where we are on that. So hopefully we are making some progress for it.
So the first floor rehab is a separate bullet, but did we discuss that? Or is that-
There's not really much happening like that. That has the library windows. It has the children's room lighting. It has the director's office rehab or redo, and it has the flooring in the first floor, like in that one room that's
Yeah, in that
kind
one
of
room.
caving in.
With the painted floor.
I feel like that is one where we probably want to maybe wait till we get a consultant
Right.
to kind of help us prioritize. Like, I think foundation repair probably has to happen first, so we have a solid base.
It impacts that room,
Yeah,
as does boiler, as does electric.
right. So I feel like that. I mean, I feel okay kind of
I
moving
think
forward.
those are
with
the ones that all are like that spider web of what do you touch?
Intersection.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that one's kind of on hold for right now, and then hopefully we'll get the plan in place and then be able to proceed forward with that. So. All right. Policies review. So you had.
So I just tried to kind of make a summary of what we've done so far, and also there was a previous list of policies needed from 2005, but I think many of the separate points are included in some of the policies we've already done, and then some of them, maybe we don't need anymore, but I don't know. So I guess I thought if we can look at this sometime and make a decision about whether some of the things that were needed in 2005 are still needed. Some of them are really more procedures, like closure for town meetings or adverse weather conditions. I mean, I don't think those are really policies, but maybe they are. So I was experimenting with this color coding just to kind of separate them into kind of zones, because the wording is things can be worded in a variety of different ways. So like circulation versus lending or borrowing, so they're all just kind of put together. So I don't know if you could look at this chart, but there's a column with all the things that people, I'm not sure who wrote that, maybe Jane? I don't
I think
know.
Jane and Rhonda did that
Okay.
back in 2005.
Okay, I just want to honor that list, at least, we should look at it. And then we have the ones that we've done, and, we do need to review them every once in a while, but most of them are really new, so, we're probably okay for a while. But I guess we kind of need to figure out if there's other policies that we need to do.
I was in an ARIS meeting today, and one of the things that they said was that if you're going to, for policies, you should probably review them about every 3 years or so to make sure that they're, so once you get all of your policies set, then you can just like take them, pick one a month and say, yes, no, maybe, change.
Yeah.
How often, I'm sorry?
Every
3
years.
years.
Okay.
So similar to how we did the borrowing policies, and Krista put in a tremendous amount of work on those, would it benefit us to have like a subcommittee? And I would assume your input would be beneficial on these. Thinking when I read distribution of keys, but then the weather policy and things like that of meeting, I'm happy to meet with you. I don't know if you want to meet too, Krista. You've had a lot of work in them and experience.
Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. It could just be, Chris can look at the list and we can.
And then we
Go from
can,
there.
similar to how we've set up the calendar of like our annual we can even add in saying in 2024 we start doing these policies, in 25 we can break it down, so each year we review a couple of policies if we want.
I think that would be good to get a regular schedule, you know, and not have to do them all in one year.
Yeah.
Like stagger them, so 4 or 5 every year.
And similar to how we have our calendar set up, if we pick up some of the leaner months and we know, and just throw in policy review for those months, type of thing.
Yep.
That would be my suggestion, at least how I see it.
Does the MBLC or this ARIS organization, would it help us define what policies we must have and what policies we want to have
Yeah.
so that we can prioritize what we're working on?
The MBLC has a list of policies and sample policies that you can look at to see.
Does it distinguish between you got to have it and you don't have to have it?
I am uncertain. I never asked that question before. The one thing that you do have to have by the state is have a circulation policy. And then it's even better if you have if someone makes a book challenge to have the reconciliation form, but you guys already did that, so we're covered on that one. But that's the only one that they mentioned, excuse me, at the meeting today, because it's a big issue right now.
And that covers the policy that we just approved in January.
Yep.
So we can look and see if there is a list of, you know,
Yep.
required policies. But it is a little bit tricky. Like we talked about a filming policy, and then we kind of incorporated that into the exhibits and meeting, you know, so it's like, do you have a separate one or do you put it into a larger one? And, you know, there's arguments for both things. So they may, you know, even if there's a required list, we might decide to, you know, present them in a different way. So,
And that's where it benefits us to review it every 3 years. Things might change, or how we want to do it,
Yeah.
and breaking it down or pulling them together. And that was just approved last year, 2022, according to your spreadsheet.
yeah, I mean, we've done them all just within the last couple of years. So if you have a chance to look at this list, you know, the one that's from 2005, just maybe we can, and Chris can do this too, obviously, you know, do we need policies for some of these specific things? Like, we don't really have anything right now about use of the equipment. You know, like some libraries have an internet use policy, you know, what's allowed, or...
Well, I mean, anybody who uses the Wi-Fi, well, actually, yeah, it wouldn't apply to the internet. They have to click, you know, we
Right,
accept these
that's right.
requirements.
So we do have that.
Which is from the CW Mars. It's not anything that the trustees have approved, but you can certainly, I can get a copy.
We
of
could
that.
review that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. So that was it.
Okay. Thank you for putting this together. This is great.
Sure.
It's good. Road race. I got an email from Mark the other day, and sorry, let me just find it real quick. And then Krista or Morgan, I know you wanted to talk about something as well. So let's see. So as of June 11th, all race applications have been mailed. All sponsor requests will be mailed or personally delivered by the 20th. So that's like 60 or 70 letters that we send out to different organizations to get financial sponsors and also to get prizes. Papers and race websites have been notified. Timing devices have been arranged. And he will stop by, he's going to stop by Sharp Image and Gardner to discuss shirts. And then I'm going to meet with him, like he said, after the 4th. So I'll reach out to him.
Is that in the drive, that email, or is
No.
it? Could you just forward it?
Yep, I can. Yep. You just do that right now while I'm thinking of it. So it's coming along. You know, he's been doing this for 26 years, so he's got it
He could do it in his sleep.
He can do it in his sleep. So
We need a succession plan.
we do need it, and he and I have started to have a couple little conversations about it because he's like, I'm not sure how many more years he's going to do it, but he hasn't said he's not going to do it.
He
But-
did about 5 years ago,
So,
and he rescinded that.
so we'll talk to him about that. I've been working with him for like 4 years or so I kind of have an idea of kind of like I've seen the list and what needs to happen. But if he does stop doing it at any point, we're gonna need to create a committee because the work he and Mel do is a lot to kind
And
of
their daughter.
and their daughter and
Yeah.
Everybody's in it.
yep.
And that's something that the trustees should be aware of because we should be. I mean, we help the event, but I always feel guilty that we should be doing more.
Yeah, and so if anybody wants to, like, I'm on the subcommittee with him. It had been me and Heather, and then Heather wasn't on the board, and we never got a replacement. So, like, every year I've been working with him on it, but I'm happy to have other people come along for the ride. So, when we have the next meeting, I'll send out if anybody wants to come and participate. I think it'll be fine.
So it's scheduled for September.
It's always the second Saturday in September. So, I'm sorry, the date escapes me right now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's early, I think.
yeah. I'll have
The
my-
10th? Oh, Saturday, 9th.
The 9th. Okay. And this will be the 26th race, annual race.
Yep.
Yes.
And are the applications on the website?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's on the website, and then it gets posted to like a roadracing.com site, where runners go to
Mhm.
find races. Like that, it gets posted there as well. And then, yeah.
You know how we made up a little, I forget when we did it, but we made up a little thing about the scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
We posted them in the mailbox, in the post office, and up in the pizza place. We can do that again for the applicant, for the race.
So part of the funds that are raised from the road race go to fund the scholarships that we give out, which
And
we'll be reviewing tonight.
I used to have a banner that I staked out on the front lawn. It's just way too busy and has too much information on it. It's a lousy banner. But maybe something simpler, just, the 26th annual 5K road race, September 9th.
Yeah, and yeah, we can certainly do that. I know Chris, you usually do the little sign
Yep.
that comes out too, like the little sandwich board
Oh, yes.
that's there, but having something a little bit more flashier that catch.
Hang it off the porch out there. or
Everybody's
something.
driving super slow anyways right now. We can do a lot of advertising.
That's true.
Yeah,
We need reading material.
It'll be
Yeah.
September before we know it.
I know. But Morgan, you had asked me to put this on the agenda because you had some things you wanted.
Well,
to
I
talk
also,
about.
for the road race, I just want to ask the board before I sponsor was going to submit the disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest as required by general law. If you want me to say the 268A,
That's fine.
I don't know everything else.
I don't,
So-
do you have to do that when you're giving money as well
So-
as?
Well, where I'm a member of the trustee, and I'm sponsoring from my personal business.
So your name will appear on the back.
As it has in past years, I just want to make sure the board doesn't have any issues with that. And I will submit
None
the
at all.
form with the town.
What's the form called?
So it's the disclosure of appearance of conflict of interest as required by Mass General Law.
Yeah, and I emailed Nate last week just to let him know, to ask about that, and I told him that we had talked to the acting town administrator a couple of years ago to get guidance onto whether or not, and this is what they told us to do, or he
At the
told us to
time.
do at the time, and asked if he was comfortable with us doing that, or was there a different course of
Did
action?
he recommend doing it?
He said, yes, continue to do what we're doing, so.
Okay,
So,
good.
and if everybody's okay with it, then I will continue to.
We certainly are.
Okay.
Yeah, so he doesn't think there's a conflict of interest. He said, yes, that is accurate, and it covers her when I said,
Alright.
submitting
So
the
then,
form.
where the library's closed, the next time I'm available, I'll bring in sponsorship and I'll drop off the form to the town. Sound good? Awesome.
Thank you.
So that's that on that.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sponsoring the race.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Morgan, Hubbardston Historical Society posters.
So, very funny story on this. I asked for it to be added to the agenda, and I guess it got expedited because they're on display at the library.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Great.
How long?
Until field day, if
Yeah, because they'll take it.
Yeah.
They'll take it back and put it out at field day, and
so.
So, yeah.
If anybody hasn't seen them, they're kind of a cool poster with regards to the fires, and also I just thought, given the fact that the library's present location is kind of a
seen them.
result
That's
from
what-
the fire,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Because
it was 1929 was the fire.
oh, okay. I thought the other one.
It was over. I'm sorry, I forgot where we were. It's that
Whole
way.
town burned
Yes.
down.
Yes.
So was there not an issue that it then had to move?
No, it was here all along. The original library was in the Mechanics Hall
Yeah.
building, which
Okay.
did burn down, but
But
that was
after.
well after, because
Okay.
the building here was built in 1874. The fire, I believe, was 1929.
So I'm wonderful with remembering history, as is evident by my complete lack of factual.
Well, speaking of remembering, I'd like to file a complaint against one of our fellow trustees. I walked in and a fellow trustee was volunteering in the library and working at the table. And those displays
not me.
were up. And it was the 1929 fire. And she looked at me and said, "Tom, you may remember that." And I thought that was a low blow.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. I have it on tape.
You know, we do have this enormous atlas that
yeah.
that shows where some of those buildings are, which I thought was pretty cool. So I might see about borrowing it and maybe making it into a poster or something.
Okay. Because we also have a poster from Tom that shows that we actually put up on at the road race.
Oh, okay.
Which shows it. I'm not sure that they're the same map.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's
that
on that.
map is older, like 1830 or 1890 or something.
That's probably the same one. You know, you're right.
You remember that?
I made it. Yeah, I made that.
I did not say that.
The complaint will be filed formally.
All right. We just added this back as kind of like a standing item on the agenda of the review the calendar of trustee events. Just so probably helpful every month to look at it so we aren't caught off guard, you know. If you look at the calendar, Krista made some suggestions for changes.
Oh,
So
great. I like that.
I kind of broke it out like scholarships. So like in the scholarship category, it shows like what has to happen during each month for the scholarships. For grant planning, like when should we start planning for grants? When do we submit the grants? When we do employee reviews, programs and events that maybe happen on a regular basis.
So we could add policies in here.
NBCLE, yep, NBLC, town reports, town events. So this is just something that is just kind of a standing thing we'll look at each month. And as other things come up, because I'm still not sure that this is a complete list. This was just, you know, initially we just put some stuff in. But we may find that there's additional things we want to add. But it allows us to kind of keep our ducks in a row and not be caught off guard sometimes when calls for grants come out and we're like, oh, we want to do something, but we haven't thought about it. And we have like 2 weeks to plan. So
I'm looking at one of them right now, the empty-ish months of December or February of policy review,
Okay.
and entering those.
Yep.
And breaking it up, so perhaps we can do cycles. Does that make sense?
Yeah. December and February. Okay.
We have annual town meeting and warrant on there.
yes, we have annual
Yeah,
town meeting. I
June.
don't know when are the warrants due? Are they due by
They do
April?
around well,
February?
they want them in February, and then I think they close them in April.
Okay.
I
what's
get a
fun.
calendar that breaks down the whole budget from when they start talking about budget in October all the way up to when the annual town meeting is.
Okay.
I can forward that to you.
That'd be
if you'd
helpful
like.
just to put certain things in so we kind of know. when things are coming down the pike.
It'll be a year old, but it'll give you a
Give you the-
time frame. for-
Perfect. So right now, we are in July, so right now we are reviewing scholarship applications. We're gonna be doing that tonight. And then in August, we need to begin thinking about the CIPC grant application. So that's capital improvement planning. So that's the money that comes out of kind of like free cash and some of the town budget. It's not CPC, which is like kind of state funds.
No, CPC, the community preservation, that's actually money, what they match it,
Magic.
but the majority of it comes from the tax bump that the townsfolk
Okay.
approved 10, 12 years ago.
Okay. Thank you for that. But they're two different, the funding comes from two different sources. So CIPC is capital improvements. And that is where we have like the boiler and the long range plan and some of the other projects. So we'll need to start thinking about that in August, that if we do want to put in a request for a boiler, we probably are going to need to think about getting quotes, those types of things, so we're ready. Or if there's something else we want to put in for. That would be coming down the pike.
So we can let this Wendy know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So at this point, I think we're ready to go into executive session to review scholarship applications.
Okay. She said we should close the meeting,
Yeah.
adjourn the meeting,
Okay.
and then she can edit out anything if she's not, since she's not here right now, she'll edit that out before she
Okay.
posts it.
So,
Motion to
Can
I
have a
can make a
motion?
motion to adjourn the meeting to executive, or release to executive session for
Yeah, I think the
scholarship.
process is you go into, you
And
you
the normal
introduce
meeting.
executive session by saying, we're going to enter executive session, at the end of which the meeting
we
adjourns.
adjourn. Yes, this was what we did last time.
But,
So-
no, I think, but we don't want the executive session to be recorded.
Correct.
That's
So
correct.
she'll edit, but then at the end of
I see.
executive session, the meeting is closed. So at this point, I make a motion that we move into executive session, at the conclusion of which we'll end our meeting.
Thanks.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?